Welcome to the podcast, Beyond Expectations, Parenting Autism. Follow Michelle Chabolla's journey of raising a child with autism, the challenges, victories, and rewards. If you're a parent, caregiver, or simply someone seeking to understand autism on a personal level, you're in the right place.
Our very first podcast, very first episode, where we are going to be discussing, telling stories about my son, Gregory Sean Chabolla, was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5 years old. And with me is my brother, Sean. And he's just going to give his view of being a brother, an uncle, first person that was there when I got the diagnosis and's been there for the ride. So here we are. I think what started this podcast was Sean. Sean's the whole reason that I'm doing this, and felt like I needed to get my story out and tell the world about Gregory. I mean, he's amazing. He's now 31 years old, was diagnosed at a time when it was pretty much the unknown. I mean, don't you think? It's like nobody really.
1994. Yes.
He was born in 94 and diagnosed in 97, almost 97. Yeah.
Right. So. And over those 31 years, there's more and more awareness of autism. And so my sisters and I have been encouraging Michelle to tell her story because she's done such an amazing job. And Beyond Expectations, the name came because Gregory is performing well beyond expectations, and it's because of Michelle's work. So we're hoping that people listen to this podcast and it makes a difference in someone's life as they're experiencing the being a parent of a child with autism.
Absolutely. And our diagnosis was very alarming, very confusing. They called it pervasive development disorder, not otherwise specified, PDD-NOS, which we were like, what? And it just falls on the autism spectrum, which we have learned through the years that the spectrum is huge. It's absolutely huge. So now he's 31, thriving as an adult, living independently, has a company, and this is where it all began. So he was a very healthy, happy baby, but he wasn't speaking. That was the number one thing, is he wasn't speaking. So everybody was trying to figure out why he wasn't talking. And at the time, we didn't know about the sounds and the repetitive movements, I guess they say. It was more that he wasn't developing and playing with the toys correctly. So that's where it all began. I put him in a preschool, and that's where he was observed, where he wasn't playing with the toys appropriately, whatever that is.
And so what age was that?
He was 2.5. He was 2.5 years old. We had just had Michael. So we thought that was a good time to get him, around other kids his age. So let's do a part-time preschool program. Because I had a sitter that came to the house. I was working full-time for you at the time. Very busy life, very busy, commuting and raising 2 kids, and never really thought anything. I did ask his pediatrician why he wasn't talking. And her answer was, a lot of children do speak late and that he'll be fine.
So it was around, so how old are kids when they start to talk? Start to make some type of communications?
I feel like Michael came out talking.
Michael is Gregory's younger brother.
18 months to 2 years, they really start saying words. Yeah, saying words, right?
Right.
So 2.5 to 3, he was behind. He was not speaking. So that's where it all began. That's where all the fun began. That's where all the journey began. I had him. The first person that saw him was a child psychologist at his preschool, and she was the first person to call my husband and I and say, we need to talk to you. And I left work. I told you where I was going. And she said this word, autism, and that's where it all began, and came back to work a little dazed and confused, and told you what they said, and you're like, what? And checked it out, and that's where it all began. It was
I remember we got this pervasive development disorder and we were, this is pre, the internet wasn't pervasive at the time. So we went to some databases we had access to, and we learned about it a little bit, but it was a big adventure. And I think that's part of what this podcast is about, is like, from not only the difference between now and then, but like, how did you become aware, and then kind of those steps of what did you do, and how did you intervene. So
Right.
at 2.5, he's at preschool. At the preschool had good resources. They knew to contact the parents that there was a special situation here.
They did. They actually it was a parent that was working. You know how you volunteer? She
Hmm.
volunteered, and she was happened to be a child psychologist. So she had us, immediately start the testing process, which immediately they test them to see if they can hear. They First step is, are they deaf? Because they're really not reacting correctly to things. And
Oh,
I knew he
interesting.
could hear, but so we went through the whole process of the hearing test, and he actually could hear almost equivalent to a dog. So that explained a lot of the not wanting to be in very noisy areas, crowds, right? Because it's just super,
He
super
had
noisy.
super, I mean, like, really
Sensitive,
unbelievable hearing ability.
right? Hypersensitivity, I believe they call it. So that was the first thing, and then all of my siblings started reaching out and figuring out what we can do. We found a dolphin therapy program that we took him to, that at the time had only been open 2 years. So therapy with this type of therapy was new to them as well. And since then, they have an autistic therapy, which is pretty cool. But totally sensory integrated things with the dolphin. And they even taught us to go ahead and teach him sign language, even though he couldn't, he could hear, he couldn't communicate. And that never
Interesting,
crossed our mind. I thought only deaf people, right,
right?
use sign language, but not true, right? If you
And
can't
how did that
speak.
go? Was he able to learn sign language?
He immediately learned very basic commands, and I think his whole demeanor changed. He wasn't as frustrated. He could tell us if he wanted more, if he was done, just very basic. But yeah, he learned them very, very quickly. It was very fascinating that, and now, you look at things different now. You're like, well, if they can do that, well, let's try them this way. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, he totally picked up on it. So his IQ was always there, right? It was just trying to get it out. Um, and it was very, very open to all sorts of therapies at that point, right? Because you're just reaching out.
30 years ago,
So
right?
30 years ago. So we take him back, and we go back home, and then they want us to send him or be evaluated by psychiatrists. So we've done psychologists, now we're doing psychiatrists, and they wanted to put him on every
With
kind.
a 2.5-year-old, I mean, that must be fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, it was scary. It was really scary. They really couldn't communicate with him, and he couldn't tell them anything, so they wanted to immediately medicate him. So we thought that wasn't the answer, not knowing, not knowing if it would work or if it wouldn't work, but we didn't do that. His fine motor skills were, he could stack blocks and line up toys more perfect than you've ever seen. Well, you saw it. And
Yep.
then he could stack them really, really high, and they'd never fall. And we all thought that was just like amazing. And he could hit a golf ball. He wasn't even talking, and he could hit a golf ball, which, was pretty amazing too.
That's
Swimming,
wild.
put him in swimming classes, not even knowing it. 3 months old, I think we put him in swimming lessons. And he was a fantastic swimmer, just an amazing swimmer. So,
So it's like
it was like we went through all these normal processes not knowing, you know,
right?
I don't know that we would have had we had that diagnosis. So yeah, that was very interesting to go when I think back about all the things that we did anyway. We traveled with him all over the world without even thinking, it's like we just went. We just went everywhere. So all that had happened before he was 3.5, 4 years old. And then we basically started the process of of therapy, like OT, speech. What do we need for him? We definitely need a lot of therapy for him. And so we did. We did OT and we did speech. And I turned my basement into a classroom and we played school 24/7. And then what happened next?
And was his so it's interesting because what you're describing is that it wasn't an intelligence problem, autism.
Right.
Like from a mom's perspective, like how would you describe it?
It's very yes, it's very different from everybody. I think their IQ is definitely there. We just can't test it because they're not speaking. Language really helps you test, right? I mean, it lets
Right.
you test someone's IQ because they can answer you and they can, question. And without language, it's really, really difficult. And now I look back and I look at him now and I think how smart he is. He's just so smart, but
Yeah.
college wasn't an option for him. Although, there's Asperger's, he's all these different ranges, and right that these kids are
Mhm.
genius level and go on to go to college, but that wasn't high school was tough enough for Gregory. But yeah, it's real interesting how we as a society look at IQ and look at how we test IQ, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Actually.
Try to make everyone sort of fit into one
Right.
definition, right?
Right, excellent. Because if they're not doing this, they must have something going
Right.
on.
So maybe get back to like when he was in this age from sort of like diagnosis at 2.5, and we're talking about really that period of time up when he's like almost there's a period of time where you expect to go to a school, kindergarten at 6 or so or 7.
Mhm.
You said you set up a school in the basement. Like, what was daily life like?
So every day, yeah, I'll back up a little bit. So we're in preschool. I was lucky enough to put him in a typical preschool because of all the moms really stepped up and made
Oh,
sure he had a
interesting.
good day, right? Preschool's
Right.
playing.
Yeah.
It's all games and
Socialization and what
playing.
have you. Right?
Right. And if he didn't know what to do, they would redirect him. They were great. And so he did that a couple of days a week. And then the reality sets in. He's got to go to kindergarten, right? He's got to go to kindergarten. So you're looking for that kindergarten that also is going to be that support for him. And we did find a kindergarten. It was our neighborhood kindergarten because we wanted him to go to school with his peers and, his neighbors.
Like a public school.
Right. And
Mhm.
so we did, and it was a nightmare. He
Oh,
didn't really fit into that mold that school portrayed. And so he was going to need help. And so then that's when I really started digging and found out that, every one of them deserve to go to school, right? They can go to school and they
mhm.
can also have help, support in the
So,
classroom.
so this was you said that because you told me this before, the school was somehow obligated to deliver a
Uh,
higher level of service to Gregory.
right.
Was this
Assistance.
in
Right.
Texas or in Colorado? Is every state like
This
this?
is
Is it
in
very different?
Colorado and it's every state. It's a support for them and it's called a paraprofessional, and it can be anybody. They don't have to have a degree or anything. It's basically people that just want to work with kids.
Mhm.
All of mine were moms, except for one was right out of college, studying special ed.
Right.
Um, and so we asked for it. We found a mom to work with him. And so that was January. So we lost August through December. I feel like we lost August through December, right? Because it was just very frustrating every day. He was being
Right.
pulled from the classroom and he wasn't doing circle time. So I was getting called and having to pick him up. And he was nonverbal at this point. He was saying words, but not putting sentences together. So
And
speaking
the reason for the calls, this was calls after you got the para or before?
before. This was the
Before.
September or August through December, right? Because he's new in the school. We're seeing how he
Right.
can function. And so in January, I ended up with this wonderful paraprofessional. We became friends, and they still didn't want him. So
Oh,
yeah, it didn't work out, and I didn't want him somewhere where he wasn't wanted. So I ended up finding another another school for him, and for first grade, I think first through third, and so yeah, I mean it's just that struggle, right? You want to find that right place for your child. So you want to jump on the OT and speech, you want to jump on the everyday living at home, keeping it structured, school every day, right? You learn every day, your child's learning every day.
And what about, how did you find out about these resources? So you're saying OT, occupational therapy. Is that expensive? Is it paid for by insurance,
So
or is it different everywhere?
some people, your insurance will cover it. We didn't have great insurance, but most of them do now. That's come a long
What's
way. That's really
what
come a
is
long
it?
way.
Do they
And
come to your
therapy in
house?
the I'm sorry?
How does it work? Like, what is it? What is the
Well, I
therapy?
took him to a clinic. Now,
Okay.
ABA therapy, which is a type of therapy that they can do in the house, they actually
Hmm.
come to the children's houses, which is great.
Wow.
Like I said, there's just so many more services now than there were.
Right.
I took him about an hour away from our house 2 or 3 times a week for OT and speech, and, for a long time, for a very long time. And then
And what kind of things did they work on with them at occupational therapy?
gross and fine motor skills. I mean, yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
OT is gross motor skills and, balance and just everything that you would work with a child. And then a lot of sensory things, playing with, different sensory materials and touches and feels and things that normally a little kid would play with. Like, he wouldn't walk on grass, and you'll hear that. I'm not saying every child that doesn't walk on grass is autistic, but it's a huge sensory thing, and he just would just like tiptoe, and he wouldn't walk on sand. All those are huge sensory things that a lot of people have, but he really had them too. So
And part of the OT is to, like,
so
help them cope with
yeah,
not liking
sensory.
those feelings of, like, things that are relatively normal
Right,
everyday
right,
life.
right. And then the fine motor skills, trying to get him to write and do everything that, you're supposed to be doing at that age. So then that's when Valerie, my next oldest sister, found, and like I said, we were all reaching out, found a therapist in Fresno, California, and that did craniosacral therapy, which is just foreign, right? You're like, who, what? And,
How did you think to try this? This
well, she actually worked on children that had been through traumatic events, and she did this therapy on them, this massage on them, and it actually they would start speaking again. They weren't talking. So Valerie's like, "Well, I've got this nephew," and she's like, "Well, let's bring him out. Let's see what happens."
sacrocranial massage?
Craniosacral therapy. Yeah, massage is what it's called. And so, yes, so we flew out to Fresno. He did one session. He walked in, it was amazing. He walked into a dark room. Her waiting room was dark, incense burning, typical massage therapist, right? And he
Mhm.
immediately covered his ears. We're just like,
Even
and
though
this
it was
is
such a
it's the
quiet room?
first time I'd ever seen it happen in a quiet environment. And Valerie and I just kind of looked at each other and we're like, and so then she came out and we're like, she goes, "How's it going?" I said, "Well, he came in here and he covered up his ears." And she said, "Well, have you ever heard of sensory um, integration dysfunction?" And I said, "No." And she said, "He's trying to process the environment and he can't process the environment." Interesting.
Even though it was quiet and
Even
dark?
though it was quiet, it was just something about that environment he was not able to process. So I'm like, "Okay, here we go." And so she took him in there, put him on the table, and performed this therapy. And it basically, what it does is it's a massage of the tissue around the cranium, and that's what your spinal cord and everything absorbs, and it basically structures it all, restructures it all, and gets it all flowing again. And the way she explained it to me is that the information to your brain flows up and down your spinal cord, which we all know that, right?
Mhm.
If you're paralyzed, that's because the information's not flowing. And so she got it flowing, and he walked out and sang the ABCs.
He talked,
He talked.
and
He
that's the
said
po that
words.
And he was how old?
First time. First time he talked, he was almost 6. Yeah.
And it was after this therapy.
One session. Yeah.
Wow.
And people think I'm,
Wow.
you had to see
Well,
it
it
to
worked for
believe
him,
it.
right? I mean, like, there's no guarantee everything works for everyone,
And
but
I was
wow.
pretty much sold, so we did. I would fly out there oh my gosh, I flew out there every quarter. He would get a week's worth of therapy, which it's very intense, very intense. It would last him that long, a week. Every day he would go have
Really?
this incredible therapy, and yeah, it got him
Have you
talking.
ever tried it for yourself?
I have. It's
What's it
amazing. You
like?
would love it. You would love it.
Really?
It just basically, it's for anxiety. It's for a lot of people that
Is it like
they
when
have
they wash my hair at the barber?
TMJ, except for just a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of sensory points in your mouth, lots of deep pressure in your mouth,
Oh,
and
it's not just you're massaging your scalp.
no,
You're massaging.
it's all through here and in your mouth and all your sensory points and all those things that
Really?
send signals to your brain.
Wow.
It's amazing. It really is amazing. We just got back today. He goes every 5 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
And he has since he was.
So every month and a half.
Yep.
And he's done
Yeah.
that since he's 5.5 years old.
Uh-huh.
So we're 25, 26 years into this.
Hey, it worked. So why would I?
Yeah, right? Is it expensive?
It is. It is. It's
That's pretty amazing. Is it possible
insurance
to learn?
doesn't cover it.
Insurance doesn't cover it?
No. It's yeah, they would never cover. Yeah, they would never cover it. So
That's fascinating.
you just do it. So that's basically what got him saying words. After that, he could sing certain things, but he wasn't really talking. Talking and speaking is actually responding and making sentences and stuff. So that came. It definitely came along. That was the big start to it all, and it was just amazing. I mean, he has also always progressed. He's never regressed, which is an amazing also thing with
Was that
him.
right? His progress has been pretty
Right.
much consistent. You haven't gone back into losing capabilities, losing
Correct. Right.
really.
Yeah. hmm Yeah. It's always been forward, which is great, it's just awesome. But yeah, so there we are. We're not even in first grade yet, right? We're
Right.
going out and trying all this crazy therapy, and it's working. And then he's integrated into a regular classroom with a paraprofessional from first grade until he graduated.
So
Which
this is, you go to school with everybody else,
Mhm.
but you have an adult there
You have
helping you.
support, right? Correct. And it was amazing too because he wasn't the only one that needed the help in the classroom, but he had an individual education plan, which is an IEP. So he got that help. There may have been little Billy over here that might have needed some help for something, but he didn't need enough help to have an individual education plan, put it that way. So
Oh,
I
interesting.
make sure that Gregory's para was there for Gregory 100%. But once Gregory was moving on and trying to work on his own, then she could go help other kids, and that gave him more independence. And as the years went by, and I mean, it got to be better and
It
better.
sounds super technical. Was it super technical to get him qualified with this independent education plan and get him the help? Like, what was your advocacy like? And
Well,
through
you
the whole
definitely
period?
have to have a diagnosis of some
Okay.
type. And a lot of people don't want that. They don't want their child labeled. They don't want a diagnosis. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't follow them outside the school. It's not anything that's on their resume or you know what I mean? It's not, I don't know how to say it. It's
It's not
just,
the scarlet letter.
correct. If it gets them
Right.
help, it gets them help.
Interesting.
If it helps them succeed, it helps them succeed. And I did have a lot of people say, well, I don't want my child to have that, that diagnosis. Well, I didn't want my child to have it either.
So when we were in school, there were kids that were educated separately. They were in
Correct.
special needs class or special education classes.
Yeah, they were in a
Did Gregory ever go and participate in that?
they were in a building at art. When we were in school, they were in separate buildings. Then they were definitely in separate classrooms. And there are separate classrooms for children with severe needs and special needs.
Mhm.
Gregory did not fit into that category. He
But is that something you had to like push for, or
For
how did that
him,
work?
yes, they did recommend him to be in a non-inclusive room,
Mhm.
and we did push for him to be
What was that
mainstream.
like?
It was hard. They
Yeah.
remember my name if you call them.
You had to be the tiger mom.
I'm not saying that I was like this first person that ever did it, but it was a struggle. It was a struggle. It was no, I don't want him in that room. And see, the minute you say no, they don't, they're supposed to do what you want. Now, I know funding and all these other things are going on right now with special education, and I don't know all the
But I don't
gory
remember
details.
us hiring any lawyers or anything. I mean, you did this all on your own?
No, 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 I did it all on my own. Mm-mm. I did it on
Interesting.
my own. It was just a struggle that we just did. We just did it, and it worked. And it didn't work. It wasn't smooth. 3rd grade IEP meeting, guess what? The services are stopping. What? What do you mean they're stopping?
Right?
We don't have the support, we don't have the services that Gregory needs at this school.
Oh, so
This is
does
public school. So,
right.
oh my gosh, what do I do? And so you reach out, and you just reach out wherever you can. I reached out to the next school. I actually reached out to the school that he went to the preschool program at, and asked him if they had the services. They said, yes, we've got a program over here we think that Gregory'd be great for. So moved him back to that elementary for that program for third, fourth, no, for fourth, fifth, and sixth.
And that
And
was,
then,
but if you weren't living in that school district, that must have been complicated.
well, I think now they can't do that to you, and I don't think they could have done that to me back then either. I mean, I could have
What do you
taken
just?
him to a different district. I could have taken him anywhere that I thought was good for my child. I
Oh,
could have
interesting.
taken him.
Well,
Depends on
that's
how
good.
far you want to travel, right?
That's good. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever works, right?
Yeah.
So we did that. We changed schools again. So now he's kindergarten at one, preschool at one place, kindergarten at another, first, second, third at another, and now he's moved to another school
Wow.
for fourth, fifth, and
And that was a
sixth.
combination of the schools encouraging you to take them someplace else,
Well, or
and
the
then
services
you.
chain dropped,
I'm
right?
sorry.
It was really because the services weren't there anymore.
I see.
Yeah.
Those services are drying up.
Yeah, yeah. So that was, and that's what I just totally, when people, oh my gosh, what do I do? I'm like, you have got to be 100% your child's advocate and make sure that they get what they need. And it's hard. You got to really, step up to the plate, and there were IEPs I walked out of just bawling. I mean, because all they tell you is he can't do, he can't do, he can't do, he can't do. And those are hard to sit through. Those are really, really hard. Those are hard
Wow.
meetings, 'cause there's
Wow.
no Billy can do this. It's what Billy can't do, why Billy's not doing this. And it's like, it's tough. And I know many, many parents that have sat through those meetings, and
And
it's
the
really
purpose
tough.
of the meeting from the school's perspective is to reduce services?
Well, they want to see what services your child needs, see if they have the services that he needs, if they're
Right.
a good fit for him or not. So he is evaluated like you would not
But is
believe.
there a sort of a financial burden on the school to provide these additional services?
Well, from what I understand, the government gives them extra money for these kids. So it depends on how they allocate and how they budget and
I see.
how they do this. So I think the money's there. It's just how and I'm
Well,
not
that's
sure
good.
now. Don't get me started on, I don't know right
Right.
now what's going on.
That's
This
what
is
it
just
was
what,
when you guys were
right.
there.
This is what I went through with Gregory. Yeah.
That's
So
fascinating.
it was pretty crazy.
It's
But the
fascinating
interesting,
how much control you had to take, right? And how assertive you had to
right,
be, and how much like you had to
right.
like just not
Yep.
take no for an answer, right?
Right, right. And with Gregory too, what I really want people to know is that the milestones and the learn, it's like he's supposed to be doing this by this age, by that age, by this, yes and no. I mean, you've got 2 children. It they all develop different. They all develop different. It's
For
it's
sure.
not just because they have something going on. One of them might do something a lot quicker than the other one. And boys are a little bit behind girls sometimes.
Permanently. All of us.
Sometimes.
All men.
Sometimes.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
I've heard girls are completely different. I don't know.
Yeah.
I had boys. But
Yeah.
it's all this great learning curve. But anyway, so here we are. We just want to get the word out about Gregory. And every episode, we'll just talk about one of his milestones and what's going on with him, and hope to get some feedback and see
That's
what
amazing.
everybody has to say.
That is great. Well done.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay.
until next time.
Until next time, tune in.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.